Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, friends of all ages. My name is Possum Morpheus, and I am joined by the wonderful Poydrak in the booth today for this fantastic Round 8 Red Moon Waning matchup, a rematch of the Waxing Bracket semifinals. I am very excited to see this one in action, and definitely hyped for this. Poydrak, how are you feeling about this one?
It was a very close series before in that semi-final. Soleras did take it 2-1, but I'm expecting a similar sort of thing today and through this series. A closely knit race. Who knows who's going to take it?
Yeah, definitely a lot of hype here. They were super close in their first race, and I've already made one mistake today. It was the quarterfinals, not even the semifinals. This is what happens when you take a break from free enterprise, friends. Don't do it. It's too much fun. It was the quarterfinals in the waxing bracket, but we get the finals here in the waning bracket that our runners are doing battle in. I also expect this to be super close. These are two incredibly well-matched runners, and I'm excited to see them have a little bit of a potential struggle bus start with a Cecil. You don't always get power overwhelming with a Cecil start, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a slog. No guaranteed Fusoyas or edges that way, so no super fast overworld clears. So it'll be very interesting to see who is more resourceful getting through their overworld.
And it's never really assured that you're going to find that holy sword in one of those trap chests in Eblin. This is T Pro, not T Wildish. It's slightly lower chance.
Yeah, our runners would be very happy with defense swords, with lightsabers. I think that might even be good enough to push them away from Eblin Castle, especially if something like a treasury shows up, maybe complements that with, a power shirt, a Zeus gauntlet, something to give our runners a little bit of an extra edge, even though they will not have an edge. So it'd be very interesting to see the route that our runners take. Any of these bosses in particular stand out to you, Poydrak? For me, I love seeing the Gauntlet, and I love seeing Ogopogo on there. But anyone in particular for you?
Baigon, actually. A Baigon is one of those ones you can't take lightly. 3 parts, all hit it pretty hard in their own ways. In some of the more rougher spots, that could be a make or break fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Baigon is a terrifying one. Cecil does help with that. Cover strats being an amazing part of Cecil's repertoire as the paladin, able not only to do offense things but also to do defense things. But we are off, and it looks like we have a Sid as our companion today, starting with the hook, and that is
And there's one of
also
our bosses.
yeah, that's an antlion.
So Baron Key is definitely going to be wanted by our runners today. Baron has been one of the big standouts for this tournament, in my opinion, for key item checks. As an important key item. 3 bosses. We already know there's one boss there. Who knows what's in the other 2?
Yeah, absolutely. The Baron Key has, outside of the Darkness Crystal, I think is probably the most important key item that our runners will come across. Knowing that there's a guaranteed boss there means that this could, oversimplification at its best here, come down to a literal Baron Key Darkness Crystal and have access to all your bosses. So it'll be very interesting to see. But both runners opting to go to Mysidia, and they're going to find a pair of white mages. Rosa, generally regarded as everybody's favorite white mage because of the increased HP, learning Cure 4 10 levels earlier. But Porum gives you access to earlier Exit, because you don't have to do the Tower of Zot, earlier Berserk, and earlier Blink. So there are some options for both white mages here. And if enough characters show up that aren't great, let's say, the Edwards and maybe the Yongs, and maybe, saving Iridia for later, you might see double white mage in action here.
And we can't take away from the Sid that came with the start. This could be a very low power start, but Sid Sid gives you outs in some of the early easy fights.
Yeah, definitely true. And looks like another thing on Soleras' side that I just caught at the end of his shopping was a curse ring in Mysidia. So that is huge information to have. Knowing where a curse ring is allows you to have 5 functional party members instead of just 4. So that could be very beneficial, especially when one of the characters that shows up is an Edward, who outside of the spoon isn't really going to give you a ton of firepower. And we also had a Yang show up, so another character that really needs some levels to get going. And there's a Stardust Rod, but I don't believe we found anyone to use it yet.
No one to use it yet, but we still do have one spot remaining with Dekar going straight to it here. What do we pass? So who's it going to be? It is no Black Mage.
Wow. This is interesting. No Black Mage, no Tella, no D-Machine. Do we get the vaunted Mac Giant grind? If we find enough Poison Axes, the Blink spell, I'm here for it.
Well, Blink spell is definitely on the table. Well, we've got 2 sources of it with Porum and Rosa. I'm just thinking how people are going to set up this team. Cecil is pretty much a given at this point, no matter what, because of the amount of who we've got in available. It's not unlikely that he's going to be dropped. But the other 2, I would say, outside of Porum and Rosa, are up for grabs. Yang's good late on, Sid's good early on, Kane's good the majority of the way through, and Edward can do a bit of work.
Yeah, I think on Soleras' side, Kane is a keeper. The reason being, Soleras found a Dancing Dagger. That is the single most important piece of gear that we've come across yet for either runner, at least in the immediate. Long term, obviously, there are some better things that have been located, but for right now, for dealing early damage, that Dancing Dagger on Kane, who will be our fastest character, and be able to be used as an item, will allow Kane to do somewhere between 300 and 400 damage. Now, for Soleras, he didn't have that Kane when finding that Dancing Dagger, but you have to imagine he is ecstatic to have picked up that Kane now to go with that Dancing Dagger.
Yang is being thrown away by both of our runners today, at least at the moment, but they have found cat claws, at least one of them each. So might make a return later. More likely that cat claw is going to be sold, though.
Yeah, one of the major issues with Yang, and honestly, Kane kind of runs into the same problem, is they are both basically unable to be backroad. So with the backroad glitch being off on Red Moon flags, what you run into is, in this case, a glut of berserkers, but nobody who's able to do anything from the back row outside of Sid or potentially Cecil. But if Cecil's in the back row, he's not doing Holy Sword things. And if Sid is in the back row, I mean, that's fine. You know, you have Archer Bow Sid, or, you know, Elven Bow or Samurai Bow, or even Artemis Bow if you're really lucky. But it really puts you in a bind as far as what you do for anchoring and what you do for the rest of your party. One nice thing, though, on Dekar's side, we found elements which are required at Ordeals 1, and then a free fight, or what would be a second free fight, honestly, at back attack. So a very easy Ordeals to get the Paladin online for Dekar. So that early aggression going up Ordeals, which is normally something you'd see on Blue Moon, very much so paying dividends for Dekar.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely given it a little bit of going to give a bit of a boost, getting that Cecil online much quicker. Because let's face it, you want him getting levels as soon as possible. You really do. He gets nothing while he's dark at night that you're going to keep. So yeah, getting leveled up. This is great play. bit of luck to get some easy fights on the way up.
Yeah, absolutely. The only potential benefit to keeping a Dark Knight Cecil would be if you had a Black Sword and some swoonable bosses, or you had to deal with a really nasty Val and you didn't have a cane, where you had to rely on Dark Wave to get through it. If you're in that much of a pickle with 5 characters, and 7 available, something else has probably gone horribly wrong. So I think that in Dekar's case, he's going to be very happy to get this Cecil online, and is also going to get for his troubles Boreas, which I guess could be helpful for this Mylon and Friends fight in Antlion Cave that Soleras has very limited AoE for.
4 rages, which we get from the starter kit, are just fine here. The Ghasts don't have really any hit points to go up against. The Boreas is a little bit quicker, but 2 4 rages just as good.
And to make this trek up ordeals ever so slightly longer, we have Dr. Dialogue hanging out in the changing room today. I guess Cecil's getting a pep talk or something before going on the world tour as a paladin. But that hammer from Sid, gonna do work here. Almost 800 damage with a wooden hammer. And Sid does work. Just like you were alluding to, Sid early on definitely helps with damage.
Yeah, this ordeals is tailored to get up there quick and get this Cecil online. Next up is really the big call, and it's where do you go for equipment? Do you go over to Evelyn now? How do you see if you can get that? See if you can pull that holy sword from one of the trap chests. Do you trust yourself to go there and actually do enough damage to win the fight?
Yeah, it's a very interesting play. What will Dekar do now with that freshly minted paladin? First, he wants to go after some Liliths. He got a back attack on the first fight. Boy, do I know all about back attack Liliths, so I can relate Dekar hitting that reset button and deciding I'll take a different fight that doesn't back attack. Using Cure 3s to take out the Liliths, this is something I've seen him do a couple times. Very aggressive play, but going to be getting some extra levels on that paladin, 15 of them exactly. So 16 levels total for Cecil now, and just some Lunar Dragons up at Mount Haubs for Soleras. But Dekar may just be primed now with those levels on Cecil. A little bit in the way of weaponry. That Poison Axe in particular on Kane might be able to have the wherewithal to get through some of those boxes in Eblin if he goes right now.
Yeah, the Mad Ogre's chest is likely the ideal one because you do get a little bit of extra damage from that Poison Axe with its giant slaying ability.
Yep, and it looks like that is where Dekar is headed. He wants to go fancy himself some of that Eblin loot. Soleras already looted out the majority of Eblin. I think we saw maybe a lightsaber, a dancing dagger, a couple of random pieces of armor. I think there was like a black shirt, which is of no value to this team. So kind of one of those situations where there wasn't a ton outside of the trap chest. So we'll see what is in the trap chest from Dekar. Meanwhile, we have some octopus hanging out at Football Defense today.
Yeah, just your casual rock piercing tentacles. That's all.
Yeah, just normal things. And looks like on Dekar's side, I think we just got Cecil targeting Porum. Oh, it was with a cover, not an attack. Okay. I was very curious about that for a second because I would have definitely thought about if anyone was going to be the anchor here, it would be Sid for me. So, and I know that might cause some shock amongst folks in the crowd, but I think Porum definitely has a lot of use on this team.
Yeah, not quite good enough for the Berserk spell. Porum does get it very early in comparison at these levels. But now that everyone's sort of getting low in health, and Cecil is heavily armored in the back row, as you stated earlier, those cover strats are coming in useful. he should be able to take it for everyone.
Yeah, but here's a really interesting development. Soleras, for doing Fabul, got himself a pigtail. Which means this whole little expedition that we're going on in Eblin could be rendered completely moot by turning in one singular key item. There are 2 really good checks for Cecil here. 3 if you consider the Avenger, which personally I do. I think
You 2 people that can use it.
Yeah, we have 2 people. Yeah, even if Cecil goes cover strats and Kane uses the Avenger, that's still a great place to be. So there's a lot of value here. Even Artemis arrows would have value. Not Holy Sword level value, but they'd still have value. The worst hits would be things like Bahamut, Masamune. So this is a huge moment in this race, and there is a Moon Veil. That is not what Soleras was hoping for.
Moon Veils are very nice, for sure, but not exactly what you're looking for. And I believe that was a Gungnir on Dekar's side from that fight, so
Yes.
not exactly what you wanted either.
I mean, I guess it lets Cecil maybe use the Poison Axe, or Sid use the Poison Axe, and Kane gets the Gungnir, I guess. Silver lining, something like that. It's not great, though. You don't want a tier 5. You wanted, a tier 6, 7, 8. That's what you're really hoping for out of these boxes. But yeah, Gungnir, it's purchasable in a shop if you're desperate enough, which means you probably don't want to see it out of a monster in a box.
Berserk now is in play for Porum, so this is perfect to let Kane just do his thing. No need to worry about stray Barkus wines, and Cecil can just concentrate on covering.
Yeah, this is a little scary if the queue happens in the wrong order. Like if the Staleman goes before Cecil gets back in, he could get put to sleep, and then everyone could start getting kind of just taken out one by one by one. That's the big fear here if that Staleman puts Cecil to sleep. But Kane decided to have really good aim and also hit very hard for not being back road. 800 not being back road with no extra gear had to have been a crit to the back row. So a little bit of fortune there for Dekar. But able to knock out that Staleman, which means now this fight is free until we get some lightning spells from these skulls, which eventually, long enough into their script, they will do just like that.
Yeah, lost Porum there, but now Rose has got Berserk as well, so you're not too worried about that particular outcome. And speaking of Holy Swords...
Yeah, there it is. We have ourselves a Crystal Sword Cecil. So you had alluded to T-Pro Eblin not always having the stick, but tonight we have the stick.
Yeah, it's still a very good chance of getting one, but it's not always there. But heck, instead, we're going to have to deal with it, and Dekar is going to have fun dealing with it.
Yeah, Dekar going to absolutely blitz through these fights that Soleras did. I guess Mylon and friends won't be super fast. He's still going to have to hit the back one time and then AoE the friends, but the Octomam, even being wholly resistant, will go faster, and then any other fight that he attempts will also go faster. Now, worth noting that Soleras will have the Hourglass from Antlion to take on whatever trap chest he chooses, or multiple trap chests if he so chooses, in Eblin. So we'll get a little bit of time back by being able to be safe on those fights, but any potential check advantage Soleras has is basically completely mitigated and rendered obsolete, if you will, by that Crystal Sword showing up first for Dekar.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too bad, because these fights, they're not really long fights anyway. So I don't think the Crystal Sword is going to do too much from this. the longest Soleras stays away from that crystal sword, though, the worse it is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And having a lightsaber, this is also one of the potential pain points, is if Soleras is to fade Eblin and just carry on with that lightsaber, which is a completely defensible decision, given that it's T-Pro, and lightsaber is oftentimes the best sword you're going to find for Cecil. If he fades that, we're going to need to get some really, really spicy routing. And Soleras may not even realize that he would be objectively behind at that point. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we get leverage on equipment here. But I do fear a little bit that lightsaber may drive Soleras away from Eblin, because it is one of those kind of good enough type pieces of equipment that it'll get you there to the end game. It just won't be as fast as one of the super holy swords.
And also using this starting siren to take on a couple of Liliths for first time front attack, so a little bit quicker than finding the fight. Dekar going into Octomammoth. Shouldn't be too long. 3 hits, well, 2 hits then. There you go, Cecil. And going to pick up the Pinktail. Likely going to hand that in and find the Moonveil.
Yeah, even with a crystal sword, you're going to want to turn that Pinktail in. It could be an Avenger, it could be an Excal, it could be a crystal sword. If for no other reason, you kind of just want to know. You want to turn that in to see where you stand, because if you were to have gone through and done all that work in Eblin to pick up a holy sword, and there was one just laying around there, you might have to change your routing at that point. And so I do wonder if Dekar is going to turn it in just for that mental portion, to see where he needs to route or reroute if there was a holy sword available for free. So I'm very curious to see if he immediately goes there, or if he goes and does something like Baron in. But looks like he is not exactly sure where we're going. We are going to Baron in, okay.
Probably in a couple of minds, thinking, should I go check that? Is there anything there that I can want? At this point, the only real big answer would be an Avenger.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't blame him for just saying, no, don't need it. I guess the other thing that could be wanted may be a white shirt.
Yeah, white shirt, very underrated piece of gear. Really, really nice to get the white mages in a great situation. Amazing for those Aromas fight far down the line. Could even be put on Cecil as great defense. But we have Soleras peeking the shop here, looking likely for hourglasses and coffins. Finds elixirs and sirens, I believe that was, which not exactly what we were looking for. But there is Ruby on Dekar's side. Gets the rat tail, so we are going to see Dekar turn in the pink tail now, but it's going to be efficient because he's going to get to turn in both tails at once. So Soleras right now up a pink tail check and up this hook dive, but Dekar up a crystal sword and Baron in. So I think that Dekar is a little bit ahead right now. It also depends what order Soleras does these trap chests in. So very interesting stuff here, but I do think Dekar is a little bit ahead at this moment because of that earlier crystal sword.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I don't think it's because of the earlier crystal sword, but I think it's a little bit of things that Soleras has done that Dekar hasn't. I think it's a little bit more on that side.
It looks like we are selling the farm here, and Dekar is going to pick up a curse ring from Mysidia here. So I missed it. He must have checked the shops before checking the characters, where I think Soleras checked the characters then the shop. I think I just missed that when Dekar initially checked Mysidia. But we knew that there was a curse ring there. So no surprise for the runners. You see a curse ring, you buy a curse ring, and that's pretty much good enough.
Yeah. Soleras is on the other side of the castle to the Crystal Sword at the moment, but could be heading up. There's going to be the Mad Ogre chest first, so going to be picking up the Gungnir before heading further into the other tower.
Yeah, and that's honestly fine. He also picks up a Bacchus wine for his trouble. And while we do have 2 people with Berserk, having a Bacchus wine is still fine. Never hurts to have that extra source of Berserk. And, maybe be able to get your characters in the queue 1 turn quicker. But we get the pink tail for Dekar, and the rat tail turns into Artemis arrows. So we got our Artemis arrows after all, just not from the check you would have expected.
Do the Artemis arrows really do too much apart from maybe facilitate a gold dragon grind or extra yellow dragon eggs?
No. The biggest thing that they let you do, honestly, is have Sid as a tertiary Zerker from the back row. So you would have Cecil and Kane in the front. You would anchor with probably a Porum, have Sid Zerking in the back row, and Rosa as your white mage in the back row, long term. I think that's really all it actually gives you, is the potential of a third Zerker in Sid. So does it really give you much? Not really, but it's cool to have.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing for Sid though is going to be the agility anchor. With that cursed ring, Sid is going to be pretty much relegated to not getting as many levels, but we'll get quite a few still. But I don't think he's going to be too much more, except maybe to throw potions later as well.
Yeah, and so I think with Sid at level 50-ish, he's at like 22 agility, something like that, which means with a curse ring, he's at 7 effectively, which is more than enough to keep the rest of the party at what we call relative agility 1. And that is going to be easy peasy for our runners to maintain a Zerker party at relative agility 1. We're not going to get too much into the math on it, but that means that everybody goes Burr, and Burr is good. And speaking of going Burr, that is a blue robe, which is a 50% chance of being required, hanging out on the hook route. It's either going to be Water Hag or it's going to be the Gauntlet. We don't know which, but we'll find out soon.
Yeah. So far we've seen 3 assured objectives, and 2 are going to be 2 have already been completed by Dekar, 1 by Soleras. We've already seen Antline in Baron Inn. This could be the 4th.
Yeah, this could in fact be the 4th, and really at this point now, and I know I kind of did the oversimplification thing early on, but if this is the Gauntlet, that would put 3 on the table. Antlion would represent 4. Between the Tower, Dwarf Castle, Feymarch, you're likely to find 1 more. That probably puts us in Darkness and Baron having access to everything we need to complete the seed. The math would dictate that. That doesn't mean that's actually what's going to happen. But hey,
Never mind.
Kind of, so.
Never mind, we've got a guaranteed 4 now.
So yeah, that's a thing that exists.
Can you also hear it isn't too bad? Only having 6,000 hit points, the wave isn't threatening at all. And as long as you can get past that 1 hit, which isn't, it's going to hit hard, you're not going to have a problem, especially with Cecil doing the damage he's doing now.
Yeah, the issue that you run into with the turtle is actually if you start nerfing the waves. Because the punches will do somewhere between 700 and 1100 damage there. The waves at max can only do, I want to say it's like 6% of the health, somewhere between 4 and 6%. I think whichever one is higher but not exceeding a certain threshold, something like that. But hey, there's our gauntlet. So that is 5 confirmed bosses, just like that. And yeah, we're in for a potential Zuma.
Yeah, we're Newman today. But the gauntlet here is not really that bad. A couple of eggs, blade men, a couple of conjurers, and I think one with a mad ogre and a couple of bombs in there, or grenades. So it's not really that dangerous.
It's a whole lot more dangerous when you don't have a Cecil that's just one-shotting everything. So it's one of those situations again where Cecil just makes so many things so much easier when he has a Holy Sword. You know, Sid hitting for 200, Kane hitting for 700. Those are a lot different than Cecil hitting for 3,900 at this stage of the game.
Oh, even a couple of grudges. Spirits, Cecil's Holy Sword doesn't actually do too much against these. Are these the ones that are machines, or is that the ones in Luca?
Yeah, that's the one in Luca. They're giants and machines, I think, or something. Yeah. I don't know. It's super weird. It makes no sense.
Yeah, the grudges definitely aren't spirits. Otherwise, the Crystal Sword would have done much more than that.
I think maybe the ones in Zot are spirits. I think that's what it's hard to keep track of all of them.
Yeah, let's face it. We know the main important ones, but when it comes to the gauntlet, sometimes you just think, I don't remember what this one's weak to, because you've gone through, so you don't really remember the normal fights in this game as much as the bosses, because you don't usually see them.
Yeah, I will say that the one thing that almost everything is weak to is Crystal Sword Cecil, and Dekar is showing us that again, he had that Crystal Sword earlier, and as a result has built up, we're at what, probably about a 4-minute advantage here, if I had to guess. Just based on having access to that quicker. And looks like Soleras is going to do a little bit more poking, but Dekar does have boss 4 on the board now, Gauntlet done, and his pitfall is sub 30 minutes with 4 bosses checked, Eblin Castle checked. Very, very efficient, very speedy.
Didn't quite catch that, but I'm pretty certain that wasn't any of the bosses that we will need here. So top of tower, out dolls, yeah, that's going to be held back until maybe the tower key.
Yeah, the awkward part about dolls with this particular party is, well, the whole thing. This party has no good source of AoE outside of maybe like Blizzard, Lit Bolt, Firebomb, like the HP-based J items. There's just not a good way to deal with AoE there. So what you might end up seeing is even like an Hourglass Stone. And then just kind of zerk up and go. It's just not going to be a fast fight. Dolls are just really slow for this party, not having access to anyone who can Quake, anyone who can Toad, anyone who can stop. It's just going to be a really dreadful fight, frankly. But what's not going to be a dreadful fight is 4 guards hanging out a Baron. This is a typically scary spot, or excuse me, hanging out a Dwarf, not Baron. This is a typically scary spot, high magic, high attack, but these guards are not going to be scary at all.
And I believe the high attack goes on to the officer, which doesn't actually attack.
Well, the officer can attack. If you berserk the officer.
If you berserk the officer, but
ask me how I know.
But honestly, if you're berserking an officer, you've probably got a wall up somewhere.
Yeah. I've actually died to Officer Soldier at Fabul Defense of all places because a power staff went wrong. So yeah, don't do that, friends. But Dekar going through and, just relying on that Cecil to do Cecil things, chopping down, is hitting the officer quite a bit here. Probably wanted to hit the soldiers rather than the officer, save some time. But it is what it is. He'll get the full XP this way, whether he wants it or not. And we see Soleras making his way down, going to be greeted with everybody's friendly neighborhood turtle. And we'll see if he is able to get through as well.
They're able to get the extra experience that you do get from the officer. If you only kill the 3 guards, you only get, I think it's like 66% of the experience, but with the 3 guards and the officer, you get something like 120%. So it's a bit of an odd one, but yeah, extra experience.
Yeah, and this dwarf castle, ripe for a black mage, would really go a long way, but we don't have one, so we have to do things the hard way, which is just hit things until they fall over, and we don't have to hit them anymore. But just some dark imps here to go with those guards, so we get 7 enemies total for the price of 2. But that means that they're all honestly pretty easy, and that's what 40,000 XP picked up for Dekar's party. That's going to go a long way towards cutting into what would need to be done for a grind, especially with a Crystal Sword Cecil. And we'll see what that dwarf reward is, while Soleras is just getting into his gauntlet fight. He's about 4 minutes behind right now from when Dekar had his pitfall, so we might be about a 5, maybe even 6 minute difference now at this point. So Dekar just getting through everything slightly more efficiently right now than Soleras.
Do you want to know the one benefit of not having a black mage in this team? It's not the blue moon. See, it's not a blue moon flag set, so you don't have to worry about not having a black mage for warp.
That's true. And Dwarf Castle only giving a silent staff. Nice piece of equipment for a white mage, but not exactly what we need. Hey, Leviathan in the shop. That would be great if we had a Rydia. But we don't have a Rydia or a Palom or a Fusoya or a Teva or anyone who can sniff summons or black magic. So that is not going to do our runners any good. We do get a peek over a black shirt available for sale, also of no help to this team. So Dwarf absolutely bupkis for this entire team, for this entire seed.
The best it was as you stated, experience. So it was total. I think it was total of 48,000 experience in the end. But honestly, that's scant consolation because you can get that from one of your grind fights later.
Yeah. With Sirens being available for sale in Eblin, not really a reason to be super worried about XP. We see hourglasses on Dekar's side. I did not catch if he purchased any. They're a lot less useful now because we've, I think, got both guards fight out of the way, the Dark Imps are out of the way, the Gauntlets out of the way. Outside of maybe needing one for dolls, there's not even a whole lot left that's hourglassable.
Dekar did only buy 5 Sirens, so they could. So if he was thinking of doing his grind on the moon, they could be useful for that. But he might just keep them in the back of his mind and say, "I'll come back and get them if I need them."
Yeah. Huh. Well, we got samurai arrows from the Feymarch freebie. Those exist.
Key items are a premium today, aren't they? Required bosses, we've seen 5 already. But key items to get you places, they're a little harder to come by.
Yeah, and it's kind of awkward because the key items we have found, Pinktail is terminal, Rattail ultimately ended up being a terminal key item, Sand Ruby is a terminal key item, and Hook, outside of being our underground access, with the Rattail and Pinktail accounted for, is a terminal key item. So we don't have anything to chase even, which is going to make routing extremely interesting, especially knowing that we want that Baron key. Worth noting also, Soleras he pitfalled right around 7 minutes behind Dekar, so definitely has a bit of time to make up here. If he fades Dwarf though and fades a little bit of shopping, maybe heads like right to do some eggs, and then goes into the Fey March and takes a fight or two, finds Darkness Crystal. Just trying to paint that picture for everybody. That time can still be cut into. This race is by no means over, just because one runner is up a little bit of time versus the other.
Soleras did buy 12 sirens, so has a little bit more of an option there. And I did not like that Fey March couple.
I like going after this karate fight. I would like it more if I had a white mage in slot 2. Okay, he has an illusion. Love the use of illusion here. Because as long as Cecil survives 2 hits, once that second kick fires, or actually technically when the second kick queues up, you can use Cecil to bop Yang, and you can get through this fight. So there's the second kick. Dekar going to go smash, and Karate going to go ouch. And so that's a nice, really, really good check to get out of the way. And we'll see, do we get any value out of this? And then if we don't, do we stick around for Val? The package is another terminal key item. I know that Dekar is a huge fan of the package, but that doesn't lead us anywhere. That's kind of a really awkward key item to get.
It is. As it could have a boss behind it, but honestly, you really don't want to go there and hope it's a demist and might have your progression, because it could be, but it's so unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, if the gate to the seed is demist at package, that's just kind of a natural last location. And, you just kind of suck it up and deal with it, that's just the order that you're going to be taking on the seed. I don't think, especially knowing where 5 bosses are, again, Antlion being a known quantity in Baron, means that the package has a lot less value, because we're not really hunting bosses at this point. We're kind of hunting key items. This is a very non-traditional ZZ5 seed in that regard.
Yeah, the key items are important. You can't take that away. But the bosses have been the main aim draw of this tournament. You need to go and do them. That's a key item that you really like to see.
Yeah, and getting through everything in the Fey March, getting that package, and more importantly, getting that pan from Val. That is the value that we were all looking for in the way of key items. It was a big miss in Dwarf, pretty much a miss in Fey March up until exactly that check. So that pan going to be huge.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Dekar if I can borrow that pan for a moment to bop you around the head for that pun.
Aww. I mean, I'll allow it. Low-hanging fruit. It's easy. You got to take them when you can get them with the puns.
Yeah, Sheila can have a double dented pan today.
I mean, Yang got to say ouch once. Yang gets to say ouch again. Or, at least get awoken from his slumber. But we shall see if there's any additional value from this pan down here at the Sylph turn-in, and I dare say another Stardust Rod is just not what the doctor ordered, since, well, we already had one, and we already sold it.
Yeah, money is not a problem in this. It's at this point. We've sold enough. The only thing that could be wanted is a cursed ring, which Dekar already has gone and purchased. You're not going to go out and buy too much in the way of armor at this point. Weapon wise, you're likely good.
Yeah, I don't think outside of looking for like Bacchus wine on the moon that we really care about anything. Shop-wise, I think we've kind of run the course on everything else that we need in the way of items. But we have Sheila 1 turn in, which gives us a Grimoire that is not what we needed, and a Magma Key. Well, Poydrak,
Wow.
I guess the good news is we can get underground now.
Going
The bad news is...
underground, where the dwarves all sing and the dwarves all shout, lally-ho.
Lally-ho! But yeah, the bad news is that pan somehow led to nothing.
Yeah. Terminal key items coming in thick and fast.
That gives us what? Keyless Tower? Zot 1 and Package? I believe Zot 1 and Package being demissed potentials. But I think what Keyless Tower is the only traditional key item check we have remaining.
Yeah, it is. And this could be a long, painful darkness crystal.
Yeah, this is not the fight that you want to have that darkness crystal behind with this party. We kind of alluded to that a little bit, that they don't have a good way to deal with it.
But it is looking increasingly likely that darkness crystal is going to have something, is going to gate something that you need to come back to the earth for a boss. Antlion is almost certain, if it's not part of this chain, to darkness crystal. But there's 3 other bosses as well that could be just hiding away.
Yeah, it's incredibly interesting how this one kind of is forced, or has forced our runners to choose what they want to do. And I think that in Dekar's position, he's making this play because he's still chasing the key items. If he had a pass, I could see a world where maybe he tried to get a little spicy with a package with Zot 1, something like that, and, you know, went to try to do like a Moonless Seed. But we don't have the Baron Key for that, we don't have the pass for that. So I think I like Dekar's routing quite a bit here, going through and making sure that he's able to catch all of the bosses that he can that gate key items first, and then worry about the remaining bosses, you know, the Baigen, the Golbez, the Ogopogo of the world. And to your point, when he gets to the moon, whenever that ends up being, I do think you have to make a pretty hard commit to actually clearing fights on the moon. Because I think that Baron Key looms very, very large at this point. Unless you find exactly 3 bosses on the moon, I think when you go there, you're committing to clearing it. So I also wonder if that makes routing in the Giant before routing in the moon a potential play. And oh hey, there's a Baron Key from the top of tower. I guess ignore most of what I just said and that whole thing about maybe we got to go to the moon and come back.
Yeah, we're still searching for that darkness crystal or the pass, but there's 3 bosses in Baron Castle. It has been known for there to be 3 required bosses out of 3. If that's the case, I probably will laugh very hard.
I mean, the interesting thing is, if nothing else, Baron gives you a boss and the most likely chance at hitting the Darkness Crystal of the remaining options. So in Dekar's shoes, you know, getting that Antlion is great. Even if the Darkness Crystal is not there and it's demissed behind Zot 1 or demissed behind Package, I think it would be an unreasonable expectation to be in a situation where your opponent would do those checks first. We have no impetus to do the package or to do Zot 1 at any point in the seed up until exactly when you have to. We do see Dekar going back to buy some hourglasses, likely thinking ahead to that grind, potentially doing some Lunar Dragons, the Gold Dragon variety to get his XP. Also now at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 key items, Darkness Crystal would represent 9, and then any 10th key item, including the Crystal, if he were to get to 10 key items off of that, by finding 7 bosses, that could give him the 10 he needs to do a very expedited grind. Whereas Soleras did a number of sirens before getting to this point, coming down to the Fey March much more powerful than Dekar was, and easily going to be able to clear these fights.
Yeah, Clyde is going to make him work a little bit for it, but Cecil says, ouch, for you. And that is a package. Likely going to stick around and do Val. You've gained levels, you're not going to leave this hanging.
Yeah, I think for Soleras, part of the commitment here to doing this was going through and making sure he could full clear the Fey March. Thinking, I only have 4 key items, they're all terminal, I don't have any leads on anything, let me just do the bulk of my grind now. He got Rosa to Cure 4, which is the big thing, before coming down here. So he's in a prime position to just chew through everything. But it's one of those situations where, you know, the clock is ticking. He's definitely ahead in levels, but he's quite a bit behind on progression. And welcome to our friends from RPG Limit Break. Thank you so much for that raid. Absolutely, unequivocally, no spoilers on your race. Nobody here wants to know about it until we get to watch it for ourselves. So please, 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 no spoilers for that race between Cubs and Frankie Bones. So welcome on in, folks. To recap, we had a crystal sword for our Cecil in Eblin, and we have been going burr ever since. Dekar is at 5 bosses completed. Soleras is at 4. Dekar is a couple minutes ahead, but we'll see where the routes take us. And that is a bit of a spooky wyvern on the throne, but a star veil goes up, and Dekar will not lose that antlion progression.
I said that star veil was up in time, but this is Dekar we're talking about. He is very good with his run buffering and able to take on the very tight fight.
Yep, and Soleras does now have his pan as well, going to go through that whole chain and then probably end up doing Keyless Tower himself, which is where we know that Baron Key is. So at this time, Dekar is, I would say, a fair bit ahead, but routing is really going to be a determining factor here once we ultimately end up with moon access, whenever that is. I think in Soleras' shoes, if his best out here might be like a double required giant. Ooh,
Going back underground? That's...
I think you do Baron Basement before you do Luca here.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, you're right here. Here. You go and do that first. But that does mean 10 key items is assured when you get the Darkness Crystal.
Yep.
So grind is definitely on the table for Dekar on the moon.
Yeah, and I wonder in Dekar's case, if let's say the pass continues to be a no-show, is there ever a world where he goes giant first to make it double as his grind and as 2 boss checks? Or with us being at 5 of 7, does he just go straight to the moon once finding that ZX or that darkness access? That is an awful fight to find. That's a demist and Baron Basement, and you have to take this because it's 2 key item checks, but you don't like it because your primary damage is a Holy Sword, and demist, well, kind of eats up Holy.
The good part about it is it's a safe fight. It's slow because demist hits 3 times, then turns to mist for a little bit of time. But it's a safe fight because you don't have to worry about taking damage in that particular. It's not continuous damage. You can shoot and take time to heal up. You can take time to blink up, so you can mitigate demist attacks. It's just this point. At this point with the mist, it's just slow.
Yeah, and I do wonder if in Dekar's position, this is seeing D-Mist here is a calming influence on how this seed has gone so far, because now you know that D-Mist is not at ZA1, now you know it's not at the package, which means two of your potential scarier outs for a D-Mist are not on the table. It means that those two checks, should you have faded them and they, let's say, did have a D-Mist with a Darkness Crystal, that you would feel not particularly great about this situation. I wonder if this is going to be a very calming check ultimately for him.
He'll likely be okay to see it here, but I don't think he was sort of expecting it to be at one of those other locations. I think it would be more, okay, this is here. It's an out of the way place. That's good. That's all. I don't think it's going to be much more than that.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair as well. Always lots of different mindsets that I love exploring that part of how people react in the moment to different key items and different checks and things either going or not going their way. Always very, very intriguing to me. But let's see, because I think we're nearing in on this D-Mist perishing. We got to be getting close. Oh no, I guess we're getting another mist phase though. But Soleras does have his Baron Key now. Going to be heading over there. Has he turned in the pan yet? He has not, right?
No, he stopped off at tower on the way out of hitting Young over the head with it, and likely will be stopping there if he doesn't go to Baron first, because he knows there's a boss there.
Yeah, I have to imagine he'll go Baron first because Antlion is a thing that exists. Even though the pan turn-ins are effectively free, I think you almost always chase that boss there. And to answer a question from chat, I believe the Odin Throne has right around 20,000 HP. I think like Asura has about 23,000. I know that those two are very close. That's kind of how I remember them, as being right near each other.
I think it's 20,000 for this spot, 25,000 for Asura, and 35,000 for Leviathan.
Yeah.
Exact numbers may not apply.
Oof. Well, that's a lunar staff. But we do get a second key item turn in.
He was wanting something about the moon. Wow. Crickets.
I mean... we now know that Darkness Crystal is either behind the Luca key or behind D-Mist at this point. There are no other options. I mean, Luca could, of course, or D-Mist turning could lead to a Twin Harper and Earth Crystal, or even a Tower key. But it is limited to these two spots as to where our progression lies. It's just kind of a matter of picking the right one. So we are going to get some very vital information from Dekar here. Was the D-Mist the answer, or was Luca the answer? And the answer was, in fact, D-Mist. There is our Darkness Crystal.
So, options have been opened. Six bosses on the moon. 2 on the giant. So, yeah, 6 bosses on the moon, 2 on giant. Dekar is going over to the Luca Key and Luca Cave first, because you don't want to leave this hanging if this is a required fight. Because if there's the rest of the bosses up on the moon, you don't need to come back down if you don't find that pass.
Yeah, definitely a situation where you want to kind of cover your bases. Sometimes Luca Key works out, sometimes it doesn't. But not having access or not having knowledge of this check while going to the moon is a bit spooky for sure. Without having that pass, you really don't want to have to come all the way back down for this and then go all the way back up the lunar subterrane. This is about a minute and 20 minute and 30 second check when you consider flying time, walking time, cutscene time, versus if you have to go all the way up to the moon, come all the way back and then walk it again. you're talking like 4 minutes of extra time. So it's a big difference in time to do it now versus later. Obviously, you feel bad if there's no boss here and there's just two of them sitting on the moon, but it's one of those situations where this is a hedge play. I think this is a play you make if you're feeling either way behind or you are playing a little defensively because you feel like you've run a really good, really efficient race. I think for Dekar, it is the latter. I think he has to feel pretty good about his run so far. There haven't been any major mishaps. He's had a Crystal Sword Cecil since very early on. So I definitely don't hate this. And there's a pass as well. So if the fight is
out.
If the fight is quick enough, you might take that.
I don't think so. I think if this fight isn't required, you just
well,
but it is, so you keep it. No?
Yeah. He's not set up for it though. Yeah, gonna get size up on the party. So yeah, Luca is required. Or I mean not required, but that's interesting because that puts Dekar at 6. Which means you almost certainly go Lunar Subterrane now instead of going to the Giant as well.
Yeah, and at this point, this simple top-down face check. You find one boss, Baigon or Ogopogo, you don't care which, and then you just jump back down and go through the pass.
And Soleras reset out of that demist, I believe.
He did.
Which... Well, here's an interesting thing now, because we know where the pass is. We know where Golbez is. If either Ogopogo or Baigon are at the package or Zot 1, does that put Soleras back ahead? In some strange alternate, really weird universe where you don't ever launch the whale?
Honestly, that all feels bad, and and yeah, here goes Soleras to the Luca Cave, going to find the Golbez, going to find the pass. I can't see him not going and fighting that demist. It's just he's likely just thinking, I've got better options at the moment where the darkness could be behind. Unknown to him, well, darkness is right there.
Yeah, it's right there, but it's also behind 20,000 HP of something that's resistant to your best weaponry. So really, really interesting stuff. But while both runners are converging after, well, an hour of being very divergent, I think this is a good time for us to make sure that S-Grunt gets our love as our restreamer this evening and giving us the pleasure of being able to commentate this fantastic little race that we got here. Zald doing a fantastic job of pushing the buttons and keeping them away from me, hungry as I might be, since this is right during my dinner time. So thank you, Zald, for protecting the people's buttons. And to our runners, of course, Soleras and DekarSMASH. If you're familiar with Free Enterprise, you're familiar with these two. DekarSMASH, a former champion. Soleras, an absolutely amazing member of the community, has made multiple deep tournament runs, does a lot of work on the admin side, far more work than myself. So definitely give them both your love. And of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the poison dragon. Everybody, give Poydrak your love too. Poydrak is not only an amazing runner at this, but an amazing human being. So make sure to give your love to Poydrak as well.
Who gave you that information?
I mean, I kind of learned that, 2 years ago now, Poydrak, when we got to play in a tournament, and I was just a newbie, and I had learned a lot from you before we got the honor of playing each other in that.
Yeah, and you still fresh me. Hey, don't forget Possum. He's absolutely brilliant at this game. He's as well as a lot of other things. You do a lot of stuff. So, yeah, don't forget Possum. He's somewhere in a trash can. You can find him, follow him. He'll do things.
Yay, trash cans. We have Soleras going to go for a 50-50 here, a little bit different strategy than Dekar. Going to hope that Kane gets hit here with whatever spell, so Rosa can get off her Star Veil here. This is the slightly riskier strategy because you're relying on some RNG. By the way, everything really hurts here, and that virus going to Rosa, not great, but Kane does get the Star Veil off, so that's fantastic. Solera's going to pick up a tiny bit of time here, and both runners are soon to be at six bosses done. Dekar is headed moonward. The big thing for Soleras here is quite simply, does he go for the package and Zot 1 play, or does he go for the D-Mist? I think the only way he's realistically got a chance to get back in this is to do the frisky play of package and Zot 1.
Absolutely. A package Zot 1 is one boss could be the difference here. That one sneaky check.
Yeah, absolutely. And also worth noting, and this is something that we had alluded to a little bit earlier, Dekar throughout this tournament has been known as someone who is very pro-package and loves to check it. And Soleras might be potentially concerned about that if boss number 7 is there, then he might be concerned on Soleras' side that Dekar could have already done it, might be doing it now, might be grinding, who knows what. So it'll be interesting to see what the check order becomes for Soleras. And then if he goes to the moon, does he go giant first or moon first? We do, however, see something that our runners have been desperately trying to find up on the moon, and that is Bacchus wine. So everybody's favorite lunar beverages.
No, I don't think they're as required because you're only really going to be relying on one Berserker at this moment in time. Kane has a gun. As good as it is, it's not the best, and Sid, you're not likely going to be throwing hands with him. This is all down to Cecil and how much damage he can put out with that crystal sword.
Yeah, absolutely. Cecil just going to go burr. And looks like Soleras is going to opt for the more conservative play of taking on the D-Mist here in the basement. Not going to go package and Zot 1 hunting quite yet. Oh, well, I say that. We have a save outside of Baron, and we are flying over towards Zot. So we are at least getting a Zot 1 check. Do we get a package check as well? We shall see. But Dekar has popped a Siren here, going to get his grind on. But if there is a boss hanging out here at Zot 1, we know where Sirens are. Soleras may still have some. He could do some eggs, never launch the whale, never have to worry about that D-Mist. And does the Rex banner come into play in a big way in yet another seed?
Yeah. I do believe it was Mega Sisters in Cave Bahamut today, so not anything that Dekar's going to worry about going after his grind.
Yeah, Maga Sisters here, the magic is kind of whatever. The punches actually hurt quite a bit, but this party, there's no reason to really take that fight until you get to the point where you need to be chasing key items, such as a Tower Key, the Twin Harp, or the Earth Crystal. But big moment here on Soleras' side, that is a Bahamut. That is not the value that Soleras was looking for at Zot 1. And looks like we are saying no to the package and going to fight D-Mist.
Mega Sisters and Bahamut have swapped places today.
That is true. Is that, it's not French vanilla then, it's what, Neapolitan or some other different and new type of vanilla? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not the vanilla master.
I haven't done enough seeds lately, apart from Seed of the Week, and and so my vanilla skills might be a little bit rusty as well. Dekar's done with the grind. Out he goes. Time to head over to the main part of the lunar subterrane. Into the Crystal Palace. Let's see, what is that? The Murasame spot, because it's going to be Murasame, then down to the free down the very bottom.
Yeah, I would expect Murasame first here, but it wouldn't be completely unreasonable to head to the bottom of the moon either. Your grind is basically done, and it is technically better math to find, better odds to find something at the bottom 3. But at the same time, if it's at the Murasame and you make an extra walk down the lunar subterrane, it feels pretty bad against a runner of either of these two's caliber. You don't really want to be giving up any extra time. So it does look like Dekar is going to do what has become the traditional route for ZZ5, which is top down on the moon.
Yeah, because let's face it, you'd go in there, you'd face checking the boss, seeing who it is. If it's what you need, great, I'll fight it. If not, it's a quick reset back to the top, then on your way down again.
Yeah, now if this is something free, not that we have much free left, but that's certainly not it. But if it would have been something free that was not named Evil Wall, would you have considered taking it, since we do still have Tower Key, Earth Crystal, and Twin Harp available? Or not yet?
Not yet. No, we're only looking for one boss. Check everything that you can, then see what's left and what's easily beatable, and then you try and sort of fight the ones that you know what you can beat easily and quickest first.
Mm-hmm. And worth pointing out something on Soleras' side that's a little bit different than what Dekar was doing. We're getting to see one of my favorite strategies, which is Silver Staff strats. So what Soleras is doing is he's zerking up Cecil here, trying to time things correctly so that he gets the zerks so that Cecil is hitting D-Mist right when D-Mist pops out, and then uses the Silver Staff as an item to cast Basuna to remove the Berserk status from Cecil. So you get extra Zerk damage, but you don't have to worry about the extra Zerks happening and causing multiple mist counters. So for Soleras' side, he does get through that D-Mist, I think, a little faster than Dekar, but we do still have to have him go through, turn that get the Darkness Crystal, turn it in, head up to the moon. And I think for Soleras, he's going to have to go giant and hope there's nothing on the bottom of the moon here.
I wonder if this is going to be the opportunity for him to check the package, because he's right there as well.
Could be. Yeah, absolutely could be the time to check the package, because he will be there. And
That's a double guard fight.
Yeah, 2 guards. That's not what we're looking for, and honestly not good enough XP, even at the Ribbon Room, to bother with. Unless we have coffins, we don't really have a great way to deal with them otherwise. I guess we have an hourglass. But there's a Baigen. That is boss number 7 for Dekar, and he is but a few moments away from go mode now.
Yeah. Very dangerous spot for Baigen, but Cecil should be able to deal with things here.
Yeah, it's a lot less dangerous when you have done the bulk of a grind. Cecil did, however, take 1,700 damage there from a couple hits, but a blink goes up. We're using a Moon Veil on Porum, so Porum's going to get some levels here, going to get some XP. It's going to keep one of the white mages safe to keep blink on Cecil. So I think that's a great use of the Moon Veil. You can't take it with you, and it doesn't really have a lot of use in the Z fight. So this will be a pretty quick fight. Dekar going to smash his way through this Baigen and get his crystal sooner than later, right around probably the 112 mark, maybe even a little earlier than that, which is quite quick. No surprise there, though, for runners of this caliber.
And despite not having a whole lot of key items really at the start, the key items we found have been a very direct path, because we haven't had too many divergences available. We've had the Luke key, but needed. We've had the Baron key, needed. We haven't had the Earth Crystal. We haven't had the Twin Harp. We haven't had the Tower. So those have been sort of those paths that would lead you to nothing have been nullified. So it's no surprise that this is a quick seed because it's been a very direct seed.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, of course, dumping the Crystal Sword Cecil on top of it being a direct seed is just like, hey, here's your direct seed. Hey, go hit things. Okay. And DekarSMASH is opting to walk down. This is a little bit faster than exiting and using the pass. If you were worried about wiping, you would exit out here and use the pass. But in Dekar's shoes, there shouldn't be too much of a worry about wiping. Cecil and Kane are going to be doing a fair bit of damage. But yeah, before we get into all of that and wiping and potential disasters and all of those things, Boydrak, we get a bunch of flags in chat, I think, or nap symbols. I know it's super late for you, so thank you for sticking this one out. And, yeah, quite late for you. So I'll let you have the honors here, since you know, we want to get you some rest tonight, my friend.
Okay then. In the name of the moon, we shall punish who? Because we only changed the appearance. And since this is a final, technically, don't we have special things happening?
Yeah, I think there's special things happening here. I don't even know. There might have been special things happening with the harp. I honestly don't know that part because the harp is
all the magic.
The seed. But all the magic. Scarlet does awesome magic.
So here comes a crystal, and who does Dekar face today?
If I had to bet money, I would bet on it being
the sun.
Yeah, something like the sun. Yeah, Soleras. So Soleras. There we go.
Yeah, maybe we just have to praise it.
And so, yeah, as is tradition generally in the first match of the finals in any bracket that we have for a tournament, the runners get to face off against each other in the Z fight. And so what we are seeing here is Dekar facing off against Soleras.
And if we go back a little bit, and we were saying about dangers, how and things going wrong, this isn't a straightforward Z fight. Yeah, you've got a Crystal Sword Cecil who's going to do Crystal Sword Cecil things, but in terms of hit points, if we see a second Big Bang, could be in a bit of danger.
Oh yeah, we will see a second Big Bang. So this, you can't just sit on Rosa here and not do anything. Cure 4 is going to have to come out. And then I think the optimal way to do this would actually be to nerf the second Big Bang with Sid, and then have Rosa go through and Cure 4 after that crystal is launched with Sid. That would be how I would approach it. To make sure, that you're able to get your Cure 4 off. That you're able to get your nerf in. You don't want to get that wombo combo where you end up going Big Bang into Black Hole into Meteo, or Big Bang into Meteo. Those are the scary things. So that's what you're really looking out for here. And looks like Dekar is pairing off of Rosa's turn over to Porum, it looks like. So I guess we're going to get a nerf here with Porum and not Sid. Or we might not nerf at all. It depends.
This does mean that at the yes, the nerf will come off.
Okay.
But you won't get a cure immediately afterwards. You are going to see the Big Bang in between this. So luckily it came from the Star Veil, so you have nothing to worry about. Rosa is going to be able to get at the Cure 4 out, this fight should be in the bag at this point.
Yeah, that is a better lucky and good moment right there. That prepping that Star Veil on Porum gives you a 1 in 5 shot of not even having to worry about a cure. And that's what Dekar had set up for there. So well done to him on managing this appropriately. And the big thing now is just, do we see a black hole come out here to kind of waste a little bit of Dekar's time? Or do we just go straight to rocks? We do see the black hole come out, but we're going to get Cecil's Zerked again. And outside of, I guess, exactly a nuke to Cecil and then a Meteo, and even then I think Kane takes it home. I just don't see how this fight goes wrong from here. Dekar got through the hard part, which was managing that second Big Bang.
Yeah, and Meteo at this stage, Cecil is now is berserked up. He's got enough hit points to survive 2 Meteos likely. This, yeah, and you don't even see another one because fight is over. DekarSMASH does smash his way through the first fight. The first match between our 2 runners with the win.
Yeah, GG's to Dekar, official time 1:17:49. We will see if we can get him in for an interview as he looks to continue his vengeance tour through Soleras here, and it does look like we are joined by Dekar. GG's to you. Very well played.
Thank you. GG everyone, and especially Soleras.
Yeah, so the big question I have for you is you very aggressively went up Ordeals and then went to Eblin. Was that kind of in the cards right away? Like, come heck or high water, you were always going to be making that play if you had any way of getting there? And then, the Crystal Sword was just a bonus?
Yeah, I actually really like that play in general on Cecil starts for the Red Moon. I think you don't get a lot from doing the other overworld checks that is going to make either Ordeals or Eblin that much faster. I mean, Berserk is kind of like the biggest thing you might get, or maybe Virus if there's a Black Mage. But that kind of requires you to do like everything else first.
And have a Black Mage.
Yeah, so I didn't think there was really any reason to put it off, especially when I was planning to pop the Siren and get that X-Spin fusion on Ordeals anyway.
Overall, pretty straightforward seed. There's not really a whole lot of divergence. Yeah, you did a few things that were unnecessary, like the entirety of the Land of Summoned Monsters and then the Pan, but overall pretty straightforward and very linear.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's kind of what I think of as like a funnel seed, in the sense that like first everybody gets funneled to the dolls because who's going to do those, before you have to, and then to the demist kind of also. So I had a sense that it was kind of a foot race, and I felt a little ahead from having gotten the Crystal Sword so early, which seems like it turned out to be correct.
Yeah, you definitely had the right read on that. As far as, kind of the early check, or rather the early checks that you did, one of the things that we thought could have been a potential point of interest was that when that Pinktail showed up, did that give you a little bit of hesitation? Were you a little nervous, wondering, well, what if that was the Holy Sword, even though you had gotten one? Or was it kind of like, I have mine, I'll deal with that later?
I mean, it may be a little nervous, but it's not the biggest deal. You still get a little X-Spin fusion from doing those 2 trap chests. It helps you get Berserk and Blink on your white mages. Depending on what's on the hook route, you kind of might want to do them anyway. Although I think the way the hook route panned out, not so much this seed. So I mean, I wasn't super worried about it, but obviously if it had been a Crystal Sword, I would have been a little disappointed.
Mm-hmm. And kind of my last question for you on this seed in particular, when you get to 6 of 7 and you have that Golbez from the Sealed Cave, was there ever any thought of doing Zot 1 or doing the package to try to go for a Moonless seed? as I know that you have been a fan throughout the tournament of the package in particular.
Probably not with the pass unless I felt behind, in which case I might have tried to do it as like a catch-up play.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, you have made you face Soleras obviously in the waxing bracket. You're facing him again now in Waning. You've gone through some really heckin' good opponents to get back to this point. You went through Mike, Ikir, Higher, and now you have Soleras. So going into to what is going to be a game 2, what is going to be your strategy? Are you going to change anything, or just kind of keep doing what's been working for you for the better part of this tournament and prior tournaments?
I'm gonna keep playing my game. At this point in the tournament, it doesn't really, unless there's like something specific I saw in Soleras' play that I would really want to try to play around, which is not the case. I think I'm just gonna play my game and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, it's been really fun playing Soleras now, and this is like our 3rd match in the later stages of tournament brackets in the last year or so. So I like the little bit of rivalry we got going, and I think historically the matches we put on are pretty good, and so it's been really fun, and I'm just gonna focus on trying to have fun, and I'd love to win, but if Soleras got crowned a champion, that would be cool too.
Absolutely. Well, again, very well run. Great words there. Focus on having fun, folks. You heard it from the ZZ4 champ, and potentially a ZZ5 champ as well, depending how things play out. Poydrak, any questions for Dekar? I kind of hogged the mic a little bit. I apologize.
Yeah. I don't have anything more. All I can really say is good luck up against Soleras. As we know, he's a great runner. I'm sure some fireworks will happen between you in the 2nd or possibly 3rd race. We'll see.
Probably. Anyway, the 2nd race is Friday, same time. Hope to see everyone there.
All right. Well, thank you, Dekar, once again. Great race, great run, and we will definitely be tuning in Friday to see you. Enjoy yourself this well-earned good night, and go get yourself some victory celebration, however you choose to celebrate.
Already got my drink here. Good night, everyone.
All right, and that was DekarSMASH, our winner. And looks like Soleras is in rocks on his side. Oh, no, I lied.
No,
he's not in rocks.
No, this fight quite a little bit harder compared to Dekar's fight, even though very similar. But Soleras didn't really had a couple of levels below, so a little bit harder to just manage, and Cecil was a nuke magnet.
Yes, he was.
So yeah, DekarSMASH is down and Soleras is joining us. GG. Somehow.
Hello. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Soleras. So, go ahead, Poydrak.
Yeah, pretty much the same question I gave Soleras, but not exactly divergent seed, very linear, wasn't it?
No, it was linear, and I'm gonna have to go back and see exactly what happened. But I mean, there's a number of things. One, I don't like checking the City armor shop in particular, armor weapon shop, because the way I start my routing with Cecil, you just don't have any money, and I don't plan on coming back. Happen to have a a cursed ring, which would have been handy. But yeah, I just that felt like a seed where it was death by kind of 1,000 cuts. Would have been really fun. Would have been really fun for Zotwan to have something with that pass in hand. That would have been cool. But yeah, I mean the seed it's extraordinarily straightforward, honestly. The Sid was kind of a mistake to keep. It was sort of hedging my bets, and then I sort of realized the final party I had. I was like, I guess I cart him around. I could have taken the Edward, I guess. He was just kind of a little difficult to deal with. I think that lost me some time, but that's okay. I had fun.
Yeah, just choosing that. The 4 characters were assured. Cecil, Kane, Rosa, and Porum were pretty much going to be in the team no matter what. But that 5th character was very much up in the air with not really 2 great options, and Sid, Yang, or Edward. They all pretty much do the same thing.
Yeah, it was kind of on my mind that if there was no Crystal Sword in this seed, you really want 3 like sad Zerkers at Zoromis. And so Sid would have been pretty good for that. And Yang, like, look at my levels, Yang wouldn't have really been very functional. But he needs a bow, and like he needs a lot also to get going, so yeah. I think I just should have kept the Yang and just kept him down. Or the Edward. But like in the 3 Zerker scenario, then I think like Porum's the anchor probably. Or any of the other 2. But yeah. So it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you actually ran honestly a very good race. The bulk of the time difference was pre-hook route. There was about a 6.5 minute difference on Pitfall.
Yeah, that makes sense. It also felt very slow going down there.
Yeah, you had the Crystal Sword significantly later than Dekar, and you double dipped Eblin, so it was really the early game that got you on this one. But you actually made up time going through the rest of the seed, even with that Zot 1 check. That Zot 1 check is far more than 30 seconds. You finished 7 minutes behind, but between that difference on the Overworld and Zot, you made up time throughout the course of the rest of the seed. So it's one of those situations where you played extremely well with what you had. It just didn't quite go your way tonight. So, I definitely look forward to you playing again, because you're absolutely amazing at this. I think you know that.
Thank you. I appreciate that assessment. I mean, I guess I didn't say it in those words, but this is kind of how I felt about this race. Like, yeah, okay, fair, makes sense. I knew, that Eblin was terrible. Really great Black Mage gear.
Yep, if they existed.
I mean, I even intentionally kept a Stratus Rod and the thing that gives you 10 extra MP, because if like Atella was in the seed, I was pretty sad. But nope. So yeah, like my prize was a Dancing Dagger and a Poison Axe, just really bad. Oh well. So it goes. It was fun. Hey, maybe we'll get to game 3. Otherwise, even if we don't, it's kind of silly how I got here, but my goal was to make A finals. So, the stakes from this point on, like everything's just kind of gravy. So I'm just here to have fun.
Yeah, and in A finals
And
you
hopefully
are.
win,
So
yeah.
Oh, we're here to have fun, really.
yes. But yeah, we will. We'll let you go enjoy the rest of your evening, Soleras. Any parting thoughts, final words, anything like that? The floor is yours.
No, I can't wait to go back and see. I know Scala mentioned that there might be a sprite. I gotta go see that, and then actually, Xenocat also picked out a song that never came up, and I kind of forgot to go like load it up for everyone, but it ended up being a Final Fantasy XIV song, which very appreciated, very nice. Otherwise, no, just thank you so much, Possum, Poydrak for the talking, Grunt for the seeds, Solid for tracking, and yeah, look forward to us Friday at the same starting time, and then Saturday or Sunday if we go to game 3. Oh, and actually, it sounds like Dekar did the harp, so great. But yeah, that's it for me. Bye, everyone.
Have a good night, and GG's again, Soleras. Well, Poydrak, that was fun as always. I am always very happy to be able to do comms with you. It's always a blessing to be in the booth with a legend. So I do
just
hope
happy
we
to
get
be doing comms. So,
I
and with
definitely
you,
hope we get to
especially
do it
good.
again. Yeah. But everyone, make sure before we head out for the evening that you give our runners a follow. One last friendly reminder there. Soleras and Dekar put on a great show tonight. This was their 4th race of this tournament and potential for a race 5 and 6 coming up. Race 5, as y'all already have heard, is going to be same time on Friday. So 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, and 1 a.m. Poydrak time?
Yes, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So make sure also on that note to give Poydrak a follow for doing amazing comms tonight. Esgrunt for rolling this gem, linear as it might have been, and Zald for doing the tracking. Poydrak, where are we headed tonight?
I believe we're heading over to someone called Tony Ortiz 15, and who's doing some. Looks like 5 random objective seeds. So feel free to head over, give them a wave, give them a hi, and cheer them on.
And remember, no spoilers, or the bonkiest of bonks will come your way. But everyone have a great night, and we'll see y'all Friday.
Have a good evening, everyone.